a little mishap, methinks. All right, that's not gonna fit. That's not. Yeah, the cable's not long enough, so it's all good. It's just is what it is. Anyway, I had some things on my mind, and I was thinking, should I do a video? Should I just go live? And I'm thinking, let me just go live because then I could ramble and not have to worry about editing and stuff like that. But yeah, I figured let me just come live and talk for a little bit about slang because slang is on my mind right now. And the reason slang is on my mind is because in the last maybe few weeks, months, a few times somebody has said to me something along the lines of, slang words, people who use slang words, sounding like idiots, or slang shouldn't be used in like certain situations, like for job interviews and things like that. And it's not a new thing. People have been saying that sort of stuff for a long time. And let me just pause that there. Cool. People say that sort of stuff for a long time, but I'm just thinking, like, I understand where it comes from. What I'm just thinking is that isn't it about time that we kind of moved beyond that? Moved beyond this idea that slang is for silly people, and especially when you consider the fact that what we call standard English, a lot of it at one time was considered slang or colloquial. A lot of it at one time was considered mistakes or mispronunciations. In fact, a lot of it is from other cultures and other parts of the world. So when you have a language that by and large consists of taken from different cultures or different or even subcultures, just taken from various places, and then creates this language that we call a more standardized form of English, right? How is it silly or stupid or whatever, anything negative, when other people create their own form of communication? How many of us do that? How many of us are able to create ways of speaking within, your own sort of community or even sub-community or whatever, your own kind of group? Back in the day, I think it still goes on now, actually, back in the day, some of the girls used to talk about what's called back slang. And if you hear it, like if you're not familiar with it, it sounds like gibberish to most ears, but the people who understand it. And it was kind of used as a way of like saying things that you didn't want the teacher to understand, or maybe you didn't want your parents to understand. It was kind of used like that in a lot of cases. But I don't understand it myself, but I know that apparently, according to some videos that I've seen, some of the young ladies now thought that they invented it, and it turns out, yeah. Anyway, that's a whole other thing. What I'm trying to make is that people create their own ways of communication. How does it make sense to say that's silly, or to say that they sound stupid because they're not speaking in a way that you understand? Yeah, I feel like it's beyond time that we move beyond this idea that language is one thing, and you could only speak in a certain way when it clearly isn't true. And also when you consider that people who use slang terms on a regular basis, quite a few of them have been able to take that beyond their own communities and into other places, to the point where you see other people using those terms that those that didn't that clearly took it from these other places. So it's like there's a reach that colloquialism has that I feel like gets disacknowledged and kind of shunned. And what's interesting is that, like, because this has happened, let's say 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, all the stuff that we look at now as urban colloquialisms and we say sounding silly and whatever are likely and probably going to be things that you see more in a standardized English, because that's the way these things tend to go. It's happened before. It's happened plenty of times before. You know, a lot of words that we use commonly now at one time were considered silly or mistakes, or, you know, in fact, there's a word called mumpsimus, which is it means to it's a word used to describe when when a word is used. Let me start again. I'm messing up my words a little bit. Let me try and explain myself. But mumpsimus is a word that means it's to describe a word that has been mispronounced so many times and so commonly that the mispronunciation becomes correct. You know, when the mispronunciation of a word becomes the thing. And I feel like if you could understand what somebody's saying, it should never be an issue. I know there's this thing online. It doesn't happen so much these days, to be honest, but it used to be a big thing online where, you know, there, and there, and how the different kind of spellings of what they mean, right? Or your, you know, the different kind of spellings of what they mean. When you say them, they sound very similar, but when you spell them out, they can mean different things. And you'd often see people, you know, correcting somebody about which version it should be. Oh, that means that version, that means that version. These days you don't see that so much. You don't see so much of the correcting so much, very rarely at least anyway. And it feels like there's no need to, because if you could understand what somebody's saying, so what if they use the incorrect spelling? You could understand them, you know what they meant. Why are we getting this idea of, oh, you must be this and you must be that? If I understood what you were saying, what is the point of me correcting you? I'm not your teacher, you know, I'm not your guardian, you know, I'm not your parent or whatever. If we're speaking in a way between, whether informally or just between whatever, you know, you're not signing for, I don't know, an English whatever. It's like, why are we going down this route? And eventually we get to a point where whichever version of there you're using, it will become standards because we all understand it. We all understand what's being said. But I don't think we're quite there just yet. But I think that is a way things move. And if it does, then so what? So what? Language evolves. And the way we use language evolves. You know, it's always evolved. So this idea that slang is silly or whatever is silly and people understand, it just feels ridiculous to me that we're constantly evolving this language. We're constantly taking things from cultures and subcultures, and then we're going back to those subcultures and say, you sound silly. It just sounds dumb. Yo, what up, chairman? The chairman's YT channel. Did you change your name? Methinks you changed your name. I thought it was just the chairman before, right? Early morning. Not quite early morning for me, but it is the morning. Is it the early morning for you, Mr. Chairman? It is 9:29 in the AM right now, so not quite early morning, but it is morning. And yo, what up, Brax? I'm pretty sure it's not early morning for Brax. Brax is actually, no, it might be early morning for Brax. Actually, I think it might be quite late. Quite like what, 12, something like that. 1 AM for you, Brax, give or take. 2 AM maybe. What up? Yes, he did. Awesome. Oh yeah, 4:29 AM. So early morning. Yeah, definitely early morning for you. Definitely early morning for you. But yeah, I just wanted to come on live and talk about slang. You know, this idea of how when people say slang terms, people who use slang terms are silly, or people who use slang terms sound stupid. I just think it's ridiculous when people say that kind of stuff when we're constantly taken from those cultures, and then eventually it becomes a more standardized form of how we speak. So it just seems silly to me when people say that sort of stuff. But yeah, just come on live and figure I'd ramble about that for a little while and see what's up. 3:29 in Braxton State. So yeah, early morning for you guys. It's more of a I don't want to say late morning, but mid morning, I reckon. I think 9:20, 9:30. Well, yeah, it's just gone 9:30 AM now. I'll say it's about mid morning. And late morning, I'll class that as maybe around about what, 10:30, 11. I think we could say late morning. I don't know. I guess it depends. It depends on how, whatever. I'm not sure it matters a great deal. Yo, what up, Jakes? Morning, my old son. How you chilling? Let me read this properly. Morning, my old son. How yeah, this chilly morning. Okay. Yeah, before the crack of dawn, indeed. I'm doing all right, Jakes. I'm doing all right. Just yeah, just figured I'd come on live and ramble about slang for a moment. A couple of times in the last maybe few weeks or so, somebody has said something to me along the lines of, people who use slang terms are silly, or they sound silly, they sound stupid, on people who, or slang shouldn't be used in certain circumstances. And I was just thinking, like, I just feel like it's time that we move beyond that kind of thinking, just because I feel like a lot of times, like the way we speak now, there's kind of what we call standard English now. A lot of it came from slang terms. A lot of it came from colloquialisms or different cultures and things like that. So to me, it just feels like, why are we saying people who use slang sound stupid when we're using a language that is made up of slang terms or different cultures and different, you know what I mean? It just seems silly to me to say that sort of stuff, you know. And even this idea of slang shouldn't be used in certain settings, I'm like, why? Like, why not use slang terms when you go to a job interview? If that's how you express yourself, why not speak that way in a job interview? I feel like if you have to change yourself to get a job, do you really want that job? You know what I mean? Because I've done that. I've changed the way I speak. I've changed the way I behave. I've changed the way I, act and dress and all that kind of stuff to get a job. And it's miserable. And you kind of lose yourself doing that. You do it for long enough and you just lose yourself. So I feel like, I know we're not quite there yet, but this is my kind of ideal way of looking at things. Like, you should be able to speak however you speak when you go to a job interview or any kind of space. Speak how you naturally would normally speak. Code switching, yeah, you shouldn't have to do that. You shouldn't have to do that, like, you should be able to just speak. And if places, snap, things falling down, and if a place can accommodate who you are, do you really want to be there? And I get it, it's not ideal. We're not quite there yet, because you got to factor in, like, we all need money, we all got bills to pay, right? And it'd be great if we could just be like, hey, I'm going to go for this next job because you clearly won't fit in here. But sometimes it's just not like that, and that's the shame of it, really. That's the shame. We shouldn't have to change who you are to get a job. As long as you can still do that job, it shouldn't matter how you speak or how you act or how you dress or whatever. You shouldn't have to, code switch, as my American friends say. You shouldn't have to do that. You should be able to just be yourself when you go for these jobs. But that's the shame of it, and it kind of feels almost like an insult, where you change yourself to get this job, and then over time, the way you are, your informal self becomes this somewhat bastardized, adopted version into standard practices, where what was once considered slang and silly or whatever now becomes this more commonly used way of speaking. And now it's acceptable to talk that way. Now it's acceptable to dress that way. Now it's acceptable to wear your hair that way. When you were doing that from before and were told that, no, you sound silly, you sound dumb, you look unprofessional. It just seems like we need to move beyond that. We should have moved beyond that a long time ago. But the fact that people are still saying these sorts of things, it's kind of like, I guess we haven't. I guess we haven't moved beyond that, and that's the shame. It just feels like, we're just repeating this old cycle over and over again, and it's not even new. It's literally been like this for a long time. It's not new. What do you think of Cockney rhyming slang? I guess it's not really a way that I speak in my normal speech, but I have no issue with that. I've used a few. I guess I do probably use a few Cockney rhyming slangs from time to time. Like I might say things like what's one, like whistling flute. I might say that, but the thing is, I'll say if I'm using Cockney rhyming slang, I'm probably very purposefully using it. It generally wouldn't come out naturally for me, so I'd probably be very purposefully saying stuff like whistling flute or apple and steer. apple and pears, what's the other one? Brown bread, you know, um, something like that. Courtney Cox. Courtney Cox, I think, is the new one actually, or newish. Is it Courtney Cox for socks? Something like that. Yeah, like Black American Street hip hop slang is used the world. Right, exactly. Like a lot of it gets adopted into a more sort of standardized way of speaking, and then we're still going back to like places that pioneer that way of speaking and tell them that they sound silly. Like, how can you say somebody sounds silly when they created their own form of communication? You know what I mean? Like, how is it silly to create something within your own community? That's not silly. That shows a level of intelligence that a lot of us don't have. And especially when we're saying that after we've taken from those communities, taken from those terms. We've taken, like, how we speak now. A lot of it came from that, right? And then we're going to go back to them and say they sound silly. 10, 15, 20 years from now, it's all going to be adopted into the way we speak normally. And let me not say normally, because now I'm kind of say, but the way we speak on a more say wider basis. I talk like a typical South Londoner. I use their slang, and I'm not ashamed of it. Indeed, that's how it should be. That's how it should be. But people over here are used to code switching. Was needed and is needed in certain areas, in certain cases. Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, like, I know I'm speaking in a very kind of idealistic way, because I get it. You can't just, how it is right now, you can't just walk into, like, if you're going for a job at a bank, if you walked in there and you walked in there, like, with a tracksuit, hoodie up, and it was like, yo, wild one, brethren, yeah. You probably won't get the job. And that's the shame of it, because you might very well be the best person for the job, but because you like to dress a certain way, you like to maybe talk a certain way, they're going to turn you down and employ somebody else that, just because they spoke in this way and dressed and they wore a suit and a tie, and they could be a terrible person for the job, but they just interview well. You know what I mean? They just interview well, but they actually suck at what they do, and they know nothing about finances. They know nothing about banking and whatever. They just interview well. And even with that, it feels like, why do places that employ people even still do that? Because surely they must know that there's a difference between, they must know that a lot of people now know interview techniques. Like, you can go online literally and find interview techniques and how to interview and what to say. And it becomes a point where, surely, if you know that people can just pretend to create, interview well, so to speak, like just act a certain way, as an employer, surely you must know by now to look beyond that. But the reality is that a lot of places don't. A lot of places still don't. They'll just employ the person that interviews well. They fill out an application form or whatever, they interview well, but they're not looking at, well, actually, what can this person actually do? What is their actual skills? Beyond just being able to answer a few questions and sit up straight and wear a shirt and tie and look the part. Because that's all you're doing in a lot of time. You're employing people who look the part and act the part, but can they actually do the job? But because somebody else is like coming in like, yeah, what you saying, yeah? Coming in like that, they're going to turn that guy down, even though he knows about banking, even though he knows about, all that sort of stuff. He has experience, the skills. It just seems like a massive circle jerk of constantly telling people that they're worthless, even though they have an intelligence that a lot of us don't have. A lot of us aren't able to do what they're doing. And yet we're in this cycle of telling people that, they're silly, they sound dumb, they down this, and then eventually we just steal from them. It's, We code switch over here to a certain extent, yeah. I mean, code switch, it does happen over here for sure. I mean, I don't know if we use the term code switch too much. I mean, to be honest, I feel like I've only heard that term used when Americans say it, but it's pretty much the same thing where you effectively speak one way when you're around, say, your boss. You speak another way when you're around, your buddies, your friends, and that kind of thing, and depending on what kind of situation you're in. When you're meeting people for the first time, you know what I mean? We kind of speak a certain way. So yeah, I mean, the term code switch, I don't know I don't think I've heard anybody actually use that term over here, but yeah, if we haven't used it, then we should be, because it's pretty much what it is. It's pretty much what it is. Or if it's called something else over here. But yeah, that's what it is, code switching. But yeah, in some parts of the world, code switching could honestly be life and death, and that's a real big shame. That's a real big shame. Because it should never even come to that, for sure. My demographic is had influential announcements for. What's that? Is it all the different places? New York, DC. Oh wait, no. Okay, maybe like Liberty, Proclamation, America, Strong, Rock and Roll, Fight the Power. Have a good day, guys. Yo, appreciate you coming through, Chairman. Big up to you and your crew. It's all the ones like that are the best ones for the job. Yeah. I mean, like, it should be a case of employing people on, I mean, to be fair, I don't think you should employ people on skill alone. To be honest, I would say that's probably not a good idea. And the reason for that is because just because you're really good at a job doesn't mean you should get the job. Some people are just arseholes, and that's a whole other thing to consider as well. There is definitely something to be said about if you employ somebody who's really, like, for example, let's say you work in a sales firm and you employ somebody who's like a really, really good salesman. They can sell anything to anyone. They're that good, right? But that person is just an arsehole. Like, they make everybody around them miserable. They're rude to people. They just bring the whole energy of the workforce down. I definitely think there's something to be said about taking a person's character into consideration as well, and not just their skill. But certainly, like, whether a person speaks using slang or whether they speak in a standard way, ultimately, if I'm applying for a job in a sales organization, if I can still sell what they are selling, it shouldn't matter how I speak. As long as I'm not being like rude or anything like that, things along those lines, any kind of stuff like that. As long as you're not doing anything, it shouldn't matter how you speak. Especially like a lot of times, and at least when I worked in sales anyway, I was working on the phones. It shouldn't really matter how you dress. Like, they made us wear suits, shirts and ties, and well, not so much a suit, but say you have to wear a shirt and tie. And I was like, why am I wearing a shirt and tie just to sit on the telephone? And the idea was like, oh, if you dress professional, you will act professional. And it's like, well, how about if I dress in a way that I am more comfortable with? I won't feel as uptight and itchy and trying to you know what I mean, and be able to flow more with what I'm trying to say. Because I feel like that is a thing. But yeah, you gotta wear a suit because you gotta look. And the reality is that the reason why they want you to wear shirts and ties, even though you work on the phone, is because they often have like investors and like board members and people like that coming through, and they like to see people in shirts and ties because it makes it look professional. That's the reality of it. So you're kind of forced, well, you're not forced, you don't have to take the job, but you're made to like sit in this office environment, dress in a way that isn't necessarily natural to you or not comfortable for you. Perhaps you speak in a way that isn't natural to you just because it looks good to somebody who might want to invest a whole bunch of money. That's the reality. Yeah, I meant to say I'm a demographic. Okay, cool. Gotcha. What up, Justin Cox?
Most jobs are digital or audio. If in the um,
Yeah, that's another thing as well, like working from home. Like that's a big thing now. A lot of people do that now.
a lot of talented and skilled people comes from the hood ghetto.
Yeah, no, indeed, no doubt, no doubt.
Season tired, Justin Timberlake.
Is that a song? I'll have to check that song out. But yeah, no, a lot of people doing the whole, work from home thing, and um, some places are still requesting like you wear a shirt and tie for your work from home. Like I don't think all places are doing. I think some are. I think most are a bit more relaxed on that with the work from home. But at least a few places still want you wearing shirts and ties when you do like your Zoom meetings and stuff like that. And it's like, why? Like why? I can't. You can't even be in your own house, and just like be in your gym jams. You know what I mean? You can't even do that. Now you got to put a shirt and tie on, just because it looks good on the Zoom call. But yeah, I don't know, man. It just feels like we're going around in circles with a lot of these things in this world. Like it just feels like as much as things change, a lot of things stay the same. As much as we progress in certain areas, we're still making same old mistakes in other areas. I don't know. It just feels to me like we're just going around in this massive, unnecessary circle.
I'd have zero issue with that because I'd be wearing my gym basketball shorts at the bottom.
Bro, if I one of those work from a home jobs, bro, be lucky. Be lucky if I even put a shirt on, because best believe I ain't got nothing underneath. You know what I mean? Cameras here, ain't nothing. Anything below the camera is like, what I hear one girl say now. She said, um, if it no, well, actually, you know what? Sorry, my bad. Let me, it's a guy, dude, what do you say? Is if it ain't getting sawn, it ain't getting worn. If it ain't getting sawn, it ain't getting worn. That is the motto.
If I'm doing a Zoom meeting, I would wear a shirt and tie and wear just my boxers because they will only see me from the upper torso up.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Business at the top, party at the bottom. Yeah, man. Can't even dress casually when you're in your own house with some of these Zoom calls. It's crazy. You're in your own house, using your own internet, using your own electricity on your own computer, and you still can't even dress casually because it looks good on the Zoom. Ugh. Yeah, put that shirt and tie on. Just don't ask me to stand up.
I've worn uniforms all throughout grade school, mostly because a strict uniform policy was put in place in Louisiana in full 1999. Okay, but one high school on the other side of the town doesn't wear uniforms.
Yeah, most yeah, I said high school. Actually, no, we say high school now in the UK. I think they changed it. It used to be secondary school when I was there, but I think they changed to high school. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Most, I think most schools in the UK are uniform. Maybe a couple here and there might be non-uniform, but most in the UK uniform. But I think in America, at least according to the TV shows I watch, it seems like most schools are non-uniform, and maybe a few schools are uniformed. I mean, with a uniform, I guess to be fair, there is a good reason behind that. Although I'm not exactly in favor of a uniform, but I'm not totally against the idea either, because I think in fairness, especially when it comes to younger children, um, there are other things to consider as well. Like if everybody's dressed the same, you can't take the piss out of people. And let's be honest, kids would do that. Kids will mock you mercilessly if you're caught wearing the same clothes 2 days in a row. Even though people aren't nobody's rich out here. You know what I mean? Nobody's rich out here. You will still get mocked mercilessly. for wearing the same outfit 2 days in a row. So if everybody's dressed the same, then I get it. It kind of takes away that factor of it, and it just takes away this idea of having to keep thinking about what you're gonna wear, and your focus could be more on other things. That being said, yeah, the idea of encouraging self-expression from a young age, I think, is great. I think that's a good thing. I guess question is, do the pros outweigh the cons, or do the cons outweigh the pros? And yeah, I guess that could depend on each basis, depending on which school you're in, which area you're in, which part of the world, all that sort of stuff. So I would say in general, I'd rather there not be a uniform, but I'm not totally against the idea of school uniforms. I think, yeah, there can be good reasons to implement a uniform policy. And with certain jobs, it kind of makes sense as well. Like if you're a police officer, it's probably best you wear an actual uniform so people can recognize that you're a police officer, right? That probably makes a bit more sense than to have everybody walk around in their own clothes, because then it's be like, who am I supposed to talk to again? Like, so yeah, certain jobs that make sense. Maybe those Zoom virtual meetings fails. Oh, I've seen a few of those actually. If I have to stand up during a Zoom meeting suddenly, I will experience technical difficulties. That's happened. I haven't seen this particular fail, but that must have happened. Somebody was on a Zoom meeting. They had the shirt, tie on, everything else. Had not literally bare ass underneath, yeah, dick, all that, and they just totally forgot that that was the case. And maybe they just thought, oh yeah, let me just grab my pen real quick, and they got up. And then it pulls right in the camera. That must have happened. I haven't seen that particular fail, but it must have happened. I saw one when one lady had a dildo she had a bookcase in the back, and she had a dildo on the shelf of the bookcase. Hey, listen, man. Sometimes you gotta take care of yourself, man. You gotta take care of yourself. I ain't mad at it. What schools around here in some states has uniforms? If it's a non-uniforms, it might be outside. Okay, I see. You can slide with it with jeans, black and khaki. Okay, if you're wearing black jeans, they might even notice. Maybe half naked to butt naked, but to go to the bathroom, not muting their mics, and they cuss. You know what? True story. I worked in it was a sales job that I had, and call center job, and I was on the phone to one customer trying to sell her a phone. We'll sell her mobile phones. So I'm talking to her, and it was I think it was an older lady, if I remember correctly. And I was talking to her, doing going for the script, blah 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 blah. And across the sort of a table from the other side of the table from me was this guy who was on the phone to his client, but he was going mad. This dude was going mad. Like, he was I don't know what they were saying, but all I could hear is this guy just shouting and swearing, and he was loud. And this dude literally just right on the opposite end of me, and I'm talking to this customer. The phone that you and I'm pretty sure she could hear this guy, right, because he is loud. But I'm just going on, carrying on, trying to maintain like some kind of normalcy, right? And I'm like, oh, so and that phone has the camera feature, and eventually I think she did buy the phone, and I was saying to her, so that'd be with you in a couple of days, whenever it was. And then at the end, this guy's still just going, he's shouting and swearing, he's still going. And eventually she just said, that guy, if it's just be something like, I can't remember exactly what it was, something like, that guy's having a bad day, huh? That's what she said. He was like, that guy's having a bad day, huh? I'm like, yeah, sorry. But yeah, that happens. That happens. And another guy, he would routinely be on the phone to a customer, and he would mute the phone, right? And then shout some swear word. He would just, he would do that. They would come back off mute and be calm as anything. And he'd be talking to the customer, da da da. And I think he was doing pretty well in sales, so nobody really said nothing until one day we just didn't see him no more. One day we just did not see him no more. And it was like, okay, he must have forgot to hit that mute button. He must have forgot to press that mute button. But yeah, man. It'd be a crazy world out there, man. Crazy world.
Or other they say, well, we're not doing too well, are we? In the British accent.
Well, we're not doing too well, are we? What? You want to hear my little story, dog? All right, go for it. Rax has got a story time. In the meantime, while he's typing it up, let me just scratch my eyes. I'm somewhere in Croydon right now. Actually, I'm not sure if I'm in Croydon. I think I'm near Croydon. I don't think I'm in Croydon. But I'm thinking I'm somewhere near Croydon. I had a few jobs that took me out to Croydon area. And this last one, no, Farley. I think I'm in Farley, which I think is near Croydon. I'm not entirely sure where I am, to be honest with you. Let me see if I can find out real quick. Put my GPS on. Yeah, I'm not in Croydon. I'm south of Croydon. I'm not sure what this area is called. Riddlesdown, maybe? I don't know where I am. But it's not Croydon. Or it maybe, I don't know, maybe Croydon covers this bit actually. Maybe Croydon does cover this bit that I'm in, but yeah, anyway. Somewhere in the world. Alright, back in 7th. Oh, let me get that back on my screen. Back in 7th grade in middle, oh freaking hell, what's going on? In middle school, okay, yeah. A student, she about a substitute teacher. We had, I know this bitch did not ignore me. So the student said that about the teacher, okay. I know this bitch did not ignore me. That's my American accent. You got to get the neck movement in there as well, and the finger. I know this bitch did not ignore me. I've seen enough American shows to know to know how that's done. I know this bitch did not ignore me. Hey, yo, you got that bit on the end as well. That's the sassy black woman. I know this bitch did not ignore me.
Then she went to the classroom phone, called the front office and said, yes, front office, I'm down here.
Excuse me.
Miss Chisonda, Harper's room. And this young lady just called me bitch.
Okay. So the substitute teacher called the front office, complained about the student calling her a bitch. I mean, you know, fair. You know, shouldn't call teachers bitches. I mean, even though they can be, probably shouldn't. Bitch.
That's it, right? She's on. Oh, Chris Onda, sorry. Chris Onda.
Straight up, no hesitation. It was a rare occasion you heard somebody swear in front of a teacher in my school. It did happen a few times, but it was a rare occasion. Every now and then, a teacher might swear in front of a student, and that was something. When teachers lose their cool, they'd be like, "You You know what I mean? That happens. And you just kind of there like, did he just like you're too shocked by the fact that you heard his teacher swear to actually be upset that it's called you, and you know what I mean? That it's called you. It's like, did he? Did he actually say a swear word? Can't even process the fact that you call me an idiot right now because I'm too in shock that you used a swear word. That's how it be.
And everybody was laughing hard after she said it because we couldn't believe a teacher substitute cuss. Do you think slang is an integral part of British culture?
I think so, yeah. I haven't thought about it in that particular way, but yeah, I'll say so. I mean, we have different slangs depending on which part of the country you're in, because that's just how that kind of goes, right? But ultimately, like, we develop ways of speaking within, you know, your own kind of community, or with your own kind of, say, group of people or group of friends, or, you know, that sort of thing. I think a bird just shit on my car, you know. Flipping out. I have to clean that. And I will say that it's an integral part of any culture, really, because like there's always, I mean, when you're trying to communicate something to a large group of people, I get it. It kind of helps to have a way that most people can understand what you're saying and what you're trying to say. That being said, not everything you say is supposed to be communicated to a large group of people. And I think there's something to be said about understanding that when you develop or parts of a culture that uses certain words, you know, that is within that culture. And yeah, it's possible. In fact, it happens where that culture becomes more widely used and those words become more widely used, and that's fine. That's nothing you have control over. But how it generally starts, at least typically, is that it's within your own kind of group. And I think there's something to be said about when you speak, that it is not always intended for everybody to get. It's just you're saying things for people who understand it to get. To you know, we hear songs, for example, that are very slang heavy. You know, they're not necessarily made because they're trying to communicate something to the world, but they're trying to speak to the people within their group, and you know, something that they would understand because it's for them. And it's possible that that song can do well and go outside of its community. These things happen, but the ultimate, the fundamental goal was to communicate something within a group. And I think we all do that in some way. So yeah, I would say slang, colloquialisms, and all of that is an integral part of British culture, and pretty much any culture. Freedom of expression, kind of a parlance. I might have to look up what parlance means, but I'm gonna say yes before I look up what that word means. It sounds like it's probably what I mean. Parlance. Let me see real quick. A particular way of speaking or using words, especially or a common to those with a particular job or interest. Right, exactly. Yeah, see? See? That's, yeah, that's that. That's that. In fact, even there, like even within like certain jobs, like you develop a way of speaking that you use within a job. Like if you work in one place, they might have, they call it, you know, they you might have certain jargons that get used in one job, and you go to another job and they have other words that get used in that job, and you try to use those words with your buddies. I have no idea what you're talking about, because you know we all kind of do that in some way, and I think it's kind of a way. I mean, I don't know if this is it specifically, but it could be kind of a way of just creating your own kind of community, really, that you could, because I feel like on some level we all want to be a part of something, right? On some level we all want to be a part of something, and I think that kind of does that to some degree. And I think that's one of the reasons why some communities and some cultures are very, very protective of who can say certain things, and that sort of stuff you might hear from time to time. I think that's one of the reasons of it, because it is kind of this way of bringing people together within this group.
Oh, and I went to a ghetto middle school. Went there because the kids I knew of was gonna go there after elementary school. The school is damn ghetto. The lights got cut off during summer school.
Damn. I don't think our schools were that bad. But then again, one girl did get stabbed, and the headmaster on school up the road got murdered. So yeah, maybe we weren't that bad. Maybe we weren't that bad, actually. It was pretty nuts back in the day. But guys, it is 10 a.m. Well, about 6 minutes past 10 a.m. I think I need to start winding this down and heading back into town.
Perhaps what's your definition of ghetto? Yeah, because they or someone forgot to pay the bills.
Eesh, pay the light bills.
Hey, what area was that school?
That was in Kilburn, Northwest 6. I went to a school called St. Augustine's, and at the time, I'm not sure if this was true actually, to be fair, but at the time, I was under the impression that my school was the second to worst school, second worst school in the country at the time. I don't know if it's true or not, because I guess I never really looked into it, but I remember that was like a thing going around. St. Augustine's was the second worst school in the country at the time, and the worst school in the country at the time was St. George's, which literally that school was about a mile up the road from my school, so maybe even less than a mile. It wasn't far. They were pretty close to each other. But yeah, St. George's is a school where a headmaster got stabbed and killed. That was, I guess, would have been, I can't remember the year, 90 something, 6, 7, maybe around about then. But it was pretty big news at the time. I mean, it was pretty big news at the time. I mean, a headmaster getting killed is going to be news. But it was gang related, I think. But yeah, somebody turned up from some other place looking for somebody, and the headmaster ended up getting killed. Kilburn is North London, Northwest London. What up, Alan Evans? Alan Evans in a place to be. That did not rhyme, but we'll go with it. It was like the Wild Wild West. It was, yeah. I mean, what can I say? It kind of was. I can't lie. It kind of was. I mean, maybe not that bad. But yeah, I mean, not far off, to be honest. I mean, there was definitely a lot of fights going on when I was in school. I got into so many fights, it was ridiculous. Something going on somewhere, remember one kid, a couple of kids did like the cadets, went to cadets. One kid, he stole bullets from the cadets and brought them into school. One other guy, he stole money from his mum, like £60, stole money from his mum. And then me and him went up to the arcades, went to the chip shop where they had the arcade machine. We just spent the money on chips and the arcades. That same guy who stole money from his mum, like, he once brought a knife into school, and because he didn't want to get caught with it, because he's kind of a kid that was kind of in and out of trouble quite a lot. Because he didn't want to run the risk of getting caught with it. He was like, "Yo, can you hold on to this, Smith?" And I was like, "Yeah, all right." Stupid, right? Stupid. Someone asks you to hold a knife or any kind of weapon for them. Say no. But at the time, it was like, "This is what you did. Your friend asked you to hold a knife for you, so he won't get caught." You're like, "All right, calm." Because I wasn't like the good kid on that. I mean, but at the same time, I wasn't in trouble that much. So I wasn't particularly worried about somebody, some teacher just randomly stopping me and asking to search my bags, because they think I wasn't that kid, you know what I mean? So for me to hold a knife for somebody, I figured I can do it with no issues. And I did, I held it for him for, I think, like a day. I remember I took it home and everything and come back and gave it back to him. Don't do that, by the way, don't. So yeah, I don't get caught. Nobody knew about it, but I'm just saying, don't do that. Even still, don't hold no weapons for nobody. It's not a good idea. Even if you're not going to get caught, it's just, don't do it, okay? But yeah, just to kind of point out some of the things that went on in my school, like it was pretty wild.
North London is known for being rough as hell.
It was at the time actually. I mean, I don't think it is as bad these days, at least from what I hear anyway. I know you might be hearing different stories, but from what I'm hearing, I don't think it's as bad these days. But yeah, certainly back in the day, it was gang territory. You know, and a place I grew up in, which is also North London, Northwest London, Halsden, Northwest 10. You know, back in the day, yeah, it was pretty much every week you're hearing about somebody getting, you know, killed, somebody getting raped, somebody getting beat, you know what I mean, all that kind of stuff going on. I mean, these days I think it's definitely calmed down a lot. It's very gentrified these days actually. If you last time I went through Halsden, it was very gentrified, which, you know, I mean, you know, it's just good and bad, right? Good, plus pros and cons to that sort of thing. But I'm sure things still happen, you know, things still go on there, things still going everywhere. But from my understanding, at least, I don't think it's as bad as it was back in the day. But yeah, I think South London might have taken the crown for that sort of that kind of thing these days.
Arcades and chips sounds like my
Hey, can't lie, man. I mean, apart from the fact that he stole money from his mum, it was a good day. You know, we bunked off school, we bunked off school, and and incidentally, by the way, that is literally the only time I've ever seen the end of an arcade game. And the amount of money we must have put in, I say we, I say he stole money, but the amount of money we put in the machine, I can't remember exactly what it was, but I think at the time it was around £14, which probably doesn't sound like much by today's standards, right? But I think back then it was like, I think it was like 50, no, I think it was 30p for one go and 50p for two goes. So like 30p for one credit, 50p for two credits. I think it was something like that. So it's equivalent of, I don't know how many turns, like 28, 30, I can't work it out, but it was a lot of goes. And we just took turns going back and forth. Like I'd have a go, I'll die, he'll have a go, he'll die, he'll have a go. We just kept going back and forth. We just kept putting money and money into this machine. And it was like it wasn't a James Bond game. It was more of a James Bond rip-off game. That's what it was. They clearly rips off James Bond. And yeah, that's the only time I've ever seen the end of an arcade game, after putting some £14 in the machine.
Living from a rough neck area that has deep connections to hip hop, as you've seen in series of movies from over here. America has a serious blues epidemic. Right now, it's literally spread. That's affluent areas, the hood areas are growing in America. Hey, what was your favorite arcade games back in the day?
Oh, definitely Street Fighter 2. That's easy. Easy Street Fighter 2. I spent so much time on Street Fighter 2. I never completed the arcade version of it, but yeah, I spent a lot of time bunking off school to go play Street Fighter 2. So yeah, definitely Street Fighter 2. Eventually I got it on like the Super NES, and I beat that, you know, but yeah, Street Fighter 2 easily. Played a bunch of arcade games back in the day, but Street Fighter 2 is definitely the number one for me.
The definition can be picked apart for it to be explained. My favorite games were Shinobi. Oh yeah, I remember Shinobi and Rider. Shinobi was Sega. Only just woke up.
Good morning. Oof, but yeah, guys. Yeah, I'm gonna have to start wrapping this up now. I'm gonna start winding this down, but I appreciate you guys coming through. Favorite character, Ken, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I pretty much played everybody. In fact, I beat it as every character, but Ken was my favorite. I say between second favorites were probably like, I mean, Ryu, you know, Chun-Li, M. Bison. I was pretty sick with M. Bison, can't lie. I was probably better with M. Bison than I was with Ken, but yes, Ken was still my favorite. But I was sick with M. Bison, I can't lie, man. I might, but you know them I don't know if you, but there was some tricks that you could do on the play on the sorry on Super NES where with certain characters, yeah, you know you had to like charge up their moves where you had to hold it back for 2 seconds, press forward and punch, yeah. It's like Guile and Bison, Balrog, Vega, I think had moves like that. But certain characters you have to hold back. Not Zangief, E Honda. You know, certain characters there, you have to hold back for 2 seconds, forward and punch, or hold down for 2 seconds, up and kick, right? Now, you know the countdown, 3, 2, 1, fight. What most people do is wait till they say fight, then hold back for the 2 seconds, forward and punch. But if you're holding back for 2 seconds when everybody can move, you're finished. Yeah, you're finished. So I would pick a character like M. Bison, yeah? And what I knew, because the other guy might be thinking, oh, he can't do nothing for the first 2 seconds. What I knew is that while they're counting down, 3, 2, 1, you can hold back during that time, and that counts towards your 2 seconds. Yeah? So the moment they say fight, forward punch, bang, and you got like the torch going off. And if you time it, it was a tricky thing, but if you time it just right, yeah, you press and hold in the other direction, and that way, what time you land, you press back the other way, forward punch, and you're doing it again. And then they're just like, what? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Why are you spinning it? Bro, when I tell you I was sick with M. Bison. Man was sick with M. Bison, but you know what? I'm gonna have to tell some of these stories another day because, boy, man can talk still. Sagat was sick, yeah, for real. And Tiger uppercut and the Tiger knee. He had that Tiger knee that was pretty tricky to pull off, but yeah. House of the Dead, man. Mortal Kombat. Oh yeah, House of the Dead. See, I read that wrong, my bad. House of the Dead, Mortal Kombat. Yeah. Mortal Kombat, that was pretty popular back in the day. It was Percy Jackson, Mortal Kombat 7 at the skating rink. Right next to this house. I was hooked like a motherfucker. Yeah, man. Mortal Kombat was about like something was there. Mortal Kombat when that came in, but I remember like when that got introduced in the arcades, and the queue for Mortal Kombat was long. Like they had other arcades, yeah, there because we had this like near our school, had this big arcade. I think it's called Pulsar or Quasar or something like that. It was like one of these laser places, but they had the arcade at the top and the laser thing somewhere else. So the bottom, I never did it on laser things, so I don't know. But they had the arcade room at the top, and that's where most of us would go to. So they had plenty of arcades to play on, yeah. But when Mortal Kombat dropped, the queue for that machine, it went out the shop, down the road. Yeah, long. And this is back when they never tell you how to do no moves. They never tell you how to do no finishes. You had to figure all that stuff out for yourself. I played a Scorpion. I'm bad up a few people with Scorpion still, but I weren't really that good at it. But I just knew like one trick where you can like throw the spear, pull him in, do the uppercut with Scorpion. And if you're like, you know, you're not that good at it, I can sort you out. You know what I mean? I could take care of you. You know what I mean? Easy. You're done. But anybody who was like reasonably skilled at it or more, yeah, it wouldn't work with them. It wouldn't work with them. Like, but I managed to get a few people. I managed to bat up a few people still, but I wasn't that good. Mortal Kombat 3, yeah. Since she was a 90s teen, so do you remember? I was like, yeah, no, I remember Mortal Kombat for sure. Like I say, it wasn't the main game I played back in the day, but yeah, Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat 4 actually I played quite a lot, but that was when it came on the N64. But I used to play that one quite a lot. That was a pretty good game. Really like that one. These days aren't really bothered with fighting games. They're too professional for me. You know what I mean? Like they're not really made for casual gamers. And super casual when it comes to games these days. Like I don't really get to play as much as I might like to, and even if I do, I like to play different games. So, and the way Street Fighter is now and those sorts of games are now, they're very much made for people who play Street Fighter and not much of anything else. So that's cool if they want to take that direction, but it's just not really for me. So as much as I still got love for Street Fighter, I might check the tournaments from time to time and watch the esports of it, but I don't really play it too much. It's just not for me anymore. The Street Fighter game has aged well. Oh, the first Street Fighter. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. I know you. Yeah, not Street, because Street Fighter 2 is when it blew up. But Street Fighter, um, it was just Ken and Ryu, wasn't it? And yeah, and I did play that one time, and I don't know. I don't think that game was good when it got released, to be honest with you. I'm not sure that game was ever considered good because yeah. But hey, Street Fighter 2 blew up, so I guess they did alright still. They managed to pull it back. Payment will come out and say you got Mega Drive back in there. Yeah. Mega Drive, 16-bit. Edition of Street Fighter is a Super Street Fighter 4. Oh, right. Yeah, 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 yeah. I know the one. I know the one. Yeah, that was like PlayStation 2. No, PlayStation 3. Dead or Alive fighting games. Me and my full blood sister. Really like one. Yeah, Dead or Alive was pretty cool actually. That was one with the titties. With the titty physics. Was that? Yeah, that was Dead or Alive, wasn't it? With the titty physics. I'm sure it was Dead or Alive. Yeah. And then Tekken, that was another popular one as well. I used to play that one. I think it was Tekken 2 that we used to play quite a lot in my house. Me and my little brother used to play that one quite a lot on the PlayStation. I think it was the first. Yeah, it was PlayStation 1. It was Super Street Fighter 4. Okay, I might mix them up then. Wait, all right, so super. Okay, so PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4 was okay. Cool, gotcha. I'm either misremembering or mixing stuff up, but cool. I remember. I know I did play Street Fighter 4. I know I played. I'm pretty sure I did play Super Street Fighter 4 as well. I'm pretty sure because that was the last Street Fighter game that I really got into, and even then, it was like it was clear this game is not really being made for me. Like it's clear that this is being made more for the the people who want to take it a bit more seriously. At least that's how I felt about it. But I still played it quite a lot. But by the time Street Fighter 5 came out, I was like, yeah, this is just not for me. I'll have to gracefully bow out to the Street Fighter world. But yeah, Tekken was sick. I used to like who is it now? Brian Fury and Lei Wulong. They were my favorite characters. But then Huang had a sick move, yeah. Huang, he did that hunting hawk kick. If you can pull that one off, it was a difficult move to pull off, but if you can pull it off, and there was another move from I forget the alien samurai guy, I forget his name, but he did one move where he would jump in the air, spin his sword around like a helicopter, and then land and hit you with it. And if he got hit with it, it's an instant kill, right? But it's so difficult to pull the move off and to actually hit somebody because it takes a long time. So they've just got plenty of time to block, get out the way, this, that, the other. But if you manage to pull it off, instant kill. And there's a few moves like that characters had where they take a long time to do, and the move itself is very easily avoided, very easily, you can get out the way. Yoshimitsu, that's it, yeah. They're very easy to get out the way. But if you can connect that move, it's an instant kill. So I think Brian Fury had a move like that as well, where he could charge up a kick and run at you and just like smack you in the face with his kick. But by the time you're doing this move, you could just jump over him. You know what I mean? But if you manage to connect it, it's over. It's over. But yeah, Brian Fury is my favorite character. I like Lei Wulong as well. Yoshimitsu was a bit, yeah. Yoshimitsu was also when they did another game, Soul Calibur. Soul Calibur, he was in that as well. Soul Calibur was alright, but I did prefer Tekken, to be honest. I prefer Tekken to Soul Calibur. Soul Calibur had its charm, but I personally prefer Tekken to that. Kimitsu though. Kimitsu. I'm guessing that was one of the hot girls. I can't remember her right now. Let me look her up real quick before. Let me cover her real quick. Okay, yeah. Got the mask on. Or sometimes got the mask on. All right, cool. We know what Braxton likes. Paul, yeah, I like Paul's cool as well. And what was it? Jin and Hiroshi. I can't remember. Jin had a dad like Hiroshi. I can't remember his name, but the one with the mustache.
dude. What was the real one? On Tekken 2, Yoshimitsu also had a stupid move where you can get him to stab himself, which I never understood why.
Oh, that was the yeah. It was the I was a Harakiri. I can't remember what to call it, but yeah. There was a, I think there was a reason to use that move. I can't remember what it was though. I can't remember what it was. But there was a reason why you might use that move. But yeah, if you did it, it would take off a lot of your own health. It was a lot of your, I think it would take off something like half your energy, half your own health bar or something like that. But there was a reason. I just can't remember what that reason was right now.
Martial law style.
Yeah, martial law was styled on Bruce Lee as like the design of him. And a lot of his moves were based around Bruce Lee. But the character seemed more like, actually no, who am I thinking of? Who am I thinking of? No, sorry, no, that martial law, yeah. No, I mixed it up. Lei Wulong, I think, was styled more along Jackie Chan. Yeah, martial law. Yeah. No, my bad. I mixed stuff up. My bad. Yeah. Cool. All right, guys. All right, no, I should get going now. So, appreciate you and all that you do. Big up for coming through in this impromptu live stream. Should be live streaming again tomorrow for the movie night. What we watched again? Snitch. Is it Snitch or Snatch? Snitch. Both of them, anyway. One of them. Hayashi, that's the dude. Yeah. Big up for that. But yeah, should be doing that tomorrow. What else? I think that's pretty much it. I might try and post a video during the week. I might. But yeah, her movie night tomorrow, watching Snitch, the Dwayne Johnson movie. I don't think we watched the Dwayne Johnson movie yet for movie night, so we need to rectify that. Raven got Hayashi. You remember Hayashi Mishima? Hayashi Mishima, yeah, that was Jen's dad, right? Isn't that the guy? But yeah.
What threw me off about Yoshi is that dude was a skeleton where Beetle's body.
He was a weird kind of alien. I don't know what he was, but yeah.
Maybe even Tekken 5.
Okay, I haven't seen Tekken 5. Tekken 5's new though, isn't it? I think that's a new one. Yeah, I haven't really paid my attention to fighting games lately, so I'm bare behind on that. But yeah, guys, you have been awesome as always. Appreciate you and all that you do. Thank you for keeping me company. Thank you for keeping it lively. Big up for a little trip down memory lane when it comes to Street Fighter and all them fighting games. But till whenever, if ever, peace.